The first F1 race weekend of the year is in the books, with Red Bull utterly dominant. Max Verstappen headed home teammate Sergio Perez by 12 seconds to complete a comfortable 1-2 ahead of Fernando Alonso, who stunned for Aston Martin. With Red Bull and Aston Martin gleeful, and Ferrari and Mercedes on the back foot, GPFans takes a look at what we learned from the Bahrain Grand Prix this weekend. There were ominous signs ahead of the weekend that Red Bull could run away with the victory, but surely nobody could have predicted they would do so in such a dominant style. Third place Alonso was 38 seconds down by the checkered flag, with Carlos Sainz's Ferrari a further 10 seconds back. Verstappen's qualifying pace was untouchable except for teammate Sergio Perez, and the RB19's race pace was just sublime. There is every chance this car could win every race this year, given the chasm in performance to its rivals. A daunting prospect for the likes of Ferrari and Mercedes, and one that even George Russell admits is a distinct possibility. First on the Scuderia and the Silver Arrows radar will be Aston Martin, who performed a miracle of sorts to secure a podium. Alonso was at his very best, picking off Lewis Hamilton and Carlos Sainz in the race, his move on the Mercedes driver particularly sensational. The performance of the still recovering Lance Stroll to finish 6th ahead of George Russell underlines the strength of the AMR 23, which, given the Silverstone factory upgrades are yet to be completed, is an outstanding achievement. There may not be a championship challenge this season, but with a wealth of aerodynamic testing time, this could be a set-up year for Aston Martin before possibly a title push in 2024. Another year, yet more pain for Ferrari, as Charles Leclerc retired in the final third of the race. The Monegasque looked to have settled for third, with a comfortable gap back to teammate Carlos Sainz, who was ahead of Alonso at the time, when a power unit failure left him stranded on the side of the road. After the issues experienced with the engines last season, Ferrari fans could be forgiven for feeling empty after the opening race. Leclerc was already on his second emergency store of the year after a swap before the lights out. This almost guarantees at least one grid penalty later on in the season. Ferrari's outlook is looking a little bleak. If something could go wrong for McLaren, it likely did. Oscar Piastri's eagerly awaited F1 debut was cut short with an electrical issue just 13 laps into the race. For Lando Norris, fortunes were no better, with his MCL 60 forced into 6 pit stops in order to top up on pneumatic pressure. That left Norris at the back of the field, and although his pace behind Hamilton and Alonso when a lap down was cause for optimism, the fundamental issues for the Woking-based team leave it a long way behind its rivals. Points for Williams in the season opener seemed highly unlikely despite the team's promising pre-season testing. Logan Sargent was impressive on his debut, missing out on Q2 only just, despite setting an identical time to Lando Norris, who went through by virtue of setting his time first. By the end of the first lap, the American was up 3 places and eventually finished less than 10 seconds behind Alex Albon in 12th. But the Thai British driver was able to fend off the late advances of AlphaTauri's Yuki Tsunoda to take 10th, underlining the steps forward taken at Grove. So plenty learnt from Bahrain, and perhaps the season in terms of a title battle is already over. Is there optimism for Ferrari and Mercedes? Can Aston Martin develop the car enough to perhaps try and push Red Bull later on in the season? Let us know in the comments section below. GPFans.com and GPFans Global for all of your F1 news.